You cannot build on borrowed land. Building on any social media platform is a mistake because you can be hacked, the algorithm can change, the policies can change, or it can just not become popular. Everything you once knew is gone. And now, what do you have? What do you have if you really had to start over today?
So you've been running campaigns online, whether it be content or ads, and you're not really seeing the success you want. Well, it's probably because the underlying issue is in the data, right? There's more to the story that you need to uncover and learn in order to optimize, get back out there, retry, and then find your success. And that can be pretty difficult, but that is why on today's episode, I have Carol Kabaale, who is Facebook ads and strategy consultant for coaches at Best Ads. Carol's clients struggle with attracting quality leads and scaling their online presence effectively, so she provides holistic Facebook ad strategies and digital marketing services that help them reach their target audience and grow their business. So today we're going to be chatting with Carol on how we can look at our marketing campaigns from a holistic approach, an ecosystem as she calls it, and better get more return on our ad spend. So Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. I'm quite excited to be here. This has been a long time coming. So I'm finally glad that we're here and we're
Yeah.
connecting.
No, but for context, there's been like technical issues, and we've had to reschedule and all that kind of stuff. And that's just the beauty of virtual conversations, is you kind of have to deal with the technical side of the world. But I appreciate
Yeah.
you finding the time and us being able to chat, because this is a really important one. I think a lot of us, when we do our marketing efforts, we go online and we look at what the best strategies are
Mhm.
and we implement them, and then they don't work, and we go, okay, I guess it just doesn't work for me. But we need to look at it from a more holistic, data-driven ecosystem, as you call it, way to really understand what needs to be optimized. So that's your forte. And but why don't you kind of describe yourself at first? You're kind of what do you do and who do you do it for?
So I help coaches primarily build ecosystems to help amplify their brand and their messaging. I love working with mostly coaches who are here with a purpose and are here to be of service. If you're selling fluff, I'm not interested. I'm not like, please don't contact me. But if you're here from a place of service and you're here to do some good in the world, then please, by all means. The way that I go about it is it goes beyond the ad. The ad is just the first tool, it's the first touch point. It could really be anything. But what we really want to dive into is, how are your emails looking? Are you growing an email list? Are you creating social media content that is actually being seen and consumed by your ideal target market? When you're running sales campaigns, do you have a plan or strategy, or are you just throwing money at it and hoping something lands? So we look at all those little touch points of data, and then we create an ecosystem to help our coaches say, hey, I'm going to launch now, or I'm going to grow my email list. That is like my point. I don't want to be showing up and having to rely on social so much. I want to go back to emails and just, sell that way and make some sales. And we look at everything. How can we make that happen for you? And it's very tailored to the individual because, as we know, not two people are alike. But we find that there is a common thread in building a good ecosystem, and that's what makes our secret sauce great.
Oh, okay. So we got some secret sauce that we're going to get into in a little bit. But first, let's start more in your backstory. Day one, how you got into marketing and all of the different channels of newsletters and ads and all that. And then kind of touch on throughout that journey. What were the lessons learned that allowed you to kind of conceptualize these secret sauce, as you call it, tactics?
So I had a very traditional upbringing. My parents were immigrants. They came from Cuba and we settled in South Africa. I know it's a long way to go, but this is where they settled. And being a child of immigrants, you tend to have a lot of focus on succeeding, on being very traditional. You're like the first one, you got to get it done, right? So I went to school, went to university, got a degree, and I went and I studied BCom, and I ended up working in business development for Hilton. And I did that for a couple of years and I loved it. I mean, let me clarify. I love the people. I didn't love what I was doing. But as we are taught, just keep your head down and it will get better. It didn't. I was extremely burnt out. I was tired and I felt like I was living past everyone. That's when I decided something needed to change. And luckily, for my own luck, my husband, who is my high school sweetheart, decided to propose to me after 9 years. 9 years, Dave. Can you believe it? I
Were
think
you
he was
saying
waiting.
finally?
Yeah. I was like, were you waiting for my blood type? What did you need, sir? Like, what did you want? But 9 years later, he proposed, and I was like, I really knew that then that's when something needed to change. I couldn't stay in the environment that I was because I would inevitably be living past my husband and not with my husband, and I didn't want that. So I went back and I put my thinking hat on and I was like, what am I good at? Right? Things I'm good at. I'm good at speaking. I'm good at being with people. I'm good at being of service. And what do I enjoy most about my job? And what I really enjoyed was the marketing element of business development. I still enjoyed building people's businesses, which is strangely enough what I do now. I do kind of a business development role in my own company. But I didn't focus on that too much. I was focusing more on the marketing, on being creative again. So I went and I got a certification in doing marketing because, again, I thought you needed a piece of paper to open doors. Fun fact, you don't always need a piece of paper. Sometimes you just need to get out and do it, you know?
Hmm.
But with my little piece of paper in hand, I told no one and I quit my job, including my now fiance. I told him nothing. I told no one anything and I quit.
Why is
And
that? Why did you feel you wanted to kind of do this in stealth?
I felt like someone was going to talk me out of it.
Mm.
And I think society has too many questions. And if you don't have all the right answers, it's very quickly to fall into this trap of fear and of this, like, did I make the right choice? Should I go back to my corporate life? And that's why I didn't tell anyone. I just kept quiet. And I was like, until it works or it doesn't work, we're just going to go with this. And that's what I did. And in that journey, the first thing I did is I got like a handful of clients. I asked like some distant family and friends. Again, I didn't want people to know that I was really doing this. Um, and I started out small. I was charging something ridiculous, like $300 for like building the pages and doing copyright. I was doing it all. Like you said, can you do this? And I was like, yes, 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 I can. I did not know.
At this
And I
point, were you looking at like what resources were you trying to pull from to like, all right, how do I craft an offer? How do like was there certain books that you were reading or anything?
So the first thing I did, I will say this, I very funny enough, I did stumble into the coaching world. Um, I started my company just before the pandemic, to my own benefit. So I actually think that was the perfect time to start a business because everybody and their cat was online. Everybody was looking for help. Everybody was on there. Everybody was telling you how to become rich and make six figures. It was all the rage. I mean, it still is, but less Lamborghinis. Now we have other things to focus on. And in that, I found this lady, and she became my first coach. And we were of similar age, we had similar stories, and I just felt like I could trust her. Like she had done it before me, so why not? Why couldn't it be me? That's kind of when I picked a mentor, that's what I picked. So in starting my business, I did coaching with her, and it was really like business coaching, like, hey, you need a logo, you need a website, you need this, how are you going to do your invoicing? So a lot of those things I learned, but I also learned by doing. And I think sometimes we get so stuck in like what we want to do that we just don't do it. And because we don't do it, we can't learn from it. We can't take action. So just do it. Just get out and do it. Just try. Why not? Right? What's the worst that can happen? I mean, so that
Yeah.
was me. I was grabbing onto, to also further elaborate on that, I grabbed onto any piece of knowledge. I signed up to every single newsletter that said it would help me. I signed up to every lead magnet. I didn't even know it was called a lead magnet back then. And yeah, I just was consuming everything and I was working way more, funny enough, than I did in hospitality because I felt like I was behind constantly. Um, I just, and I had this pressure of I needed to make it work, if that makes sense. Like, oh, I've made this choice. Now it's going to work. It's going to work.
Well, on that note, you said pressure. That's like pressure internally, but then also sounds like you left your like big fancy corporate life behind to start your own thing. Was there like additional pressures of like, okay, I've had a comfy salary and now I'm like, I need to make my own salary. Like now I'm my own boss and my, you know, a solopreneur. Was there kind of struggles of what does it mean to not be associated with like a, you know, a big company
Fancy
now?
brand.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a big shock, first of all. I know everybody wants, like, not everybody, but most people want to have some kind of freedom and be their own boss. It's hard being your own boss. I'm the first one to tell you it's hard. Because at the end of the day, if you don't work, you don't get paid. But if you have a nice little corporate job, you can be set. That being said, I was like, okay, cool. It's going to be me. I need to get down with it. I want to be really transparent with you, and I don't share this often, but I feel like this is a safe space between you and me, Dave. And I mean,
absolutely.
listeners, of course it is. It's a safe
Yeah.
space.
You, me, and the audience.
You, me, and the audience. It's just our little secret. So, one of the things that happened when I started my business is I quickly got an apartment's worth of debt. I actually spoke on another podcast, and the guy said, "You had how much debt? An apartment?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess it is an apartment worth of debt." And I racked that up because I felt that I really wasn't enough. I didn't know enough. Like, who was I to give advice? Who was I to run Facebook ads? I'm just like this. When I started my business, I was like 20, 23. And I was like, who's this 23-year-old to be like telling people way older than me who have these businesses, hey, this is how you should be running your business. This is what will work. So I felt very inferior. So I like was signing up to courses and buying ebooks. And again, I was in the age where there was so much of it available that it really, I had so much choice. Um, and quickly it snowballed into like about like $20,000 worth of debt, um, very quickly. And
This was
then it
all
snowballed
on
in.
investing into other resources to help you start your business, essentially.
Well, while I was in the business, I was really in the
Okay.
business, but
Or
I
grow.
just didn't feel like it was enough. Like I didn't feel like I knew enough. I didn't feel like I was enough. Hence, I kept looking for help. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, where you just think if I buy the next course, if I buy the next book, if I invest in this thing, then I will be ready. Then it will be enough. And you fall into this loop where it's never enough. I can tell you, I have so many things in my download folder. Well, I used to, I don't anymore, but it was everything. And I just thought it would help. And it doesn't, because it's only one tiny piece of the puzzle. You really need to look at the entire ecosystem to be successful. And unfortunately, most of the time, we're only sold one little piece of the puzzle. Hence why we don't become these overnight successes we're promised to be. So,
And I want to touch on that too, just real quick, because there's a
yeah.
thing I have a strong feelings towards this as well about the difference between information and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And information is like we feel we have to gather more info. We have to watch more YouTube videos. We have to take that course. We need that mentor in order to like absorb information so that it will help us with our business. But knowledge is actually just information applied in action.
Exactly.
So like we knowledge is more powerful than information because it's lived experience. So we actually, like you were saying earlier, the best education is just experience. Like go do the thing first and then
Go
you'll
do.
learn how to do it because you've done
Yeah.
it instead of someone telling you how to do it. So I really love the idea. I think it's like a very tough lesson to learn that you went through
Yeah.
there, but like an important one for the listeners. Like, yeah, you don't need more information, you need more knowledge, which means you have to go do something.
And it's really scary to do something, right? Because you feel ill-equipped. You feel like, who am I? There's a lot of mindset work and imposter syndrome that comes into play. So for me, once I finally realized that, I shifted my mindset and into let's figure this out. I don't need to buy another course. I'm in all this debt. By the way, at this time, I hadn't even told my husband I was in debt. Okay. I just kept quiet about the whole thing. Yeah, I know. Don't do
that's a
that.
different conversation.
Yeah, let's not do that, guys. Don't tell
Yeah.
tell your partner things, okay?
That's for a different podcast. Yeah.
Yes, that's a different podcast. But this one, I will say that I just decided, like, okay, guys, let's bring this debt down. Let's focus on getting new clients. Let's focus on actually working in my business. And once I put my energy into that, I slowly, like you said, with the knowledge that I was gaining from doing, saw where my mistakes were coming. I gravely was undercharging. I realized I had zero boundaries, and I thought I was quite good at those. But someone would give me something that was out of scope, and I would just gladly do it. Terrible. I wasn't tracking my time, so I would give clients who had smaller retainers more of my time than clients who had bigger retainers, which is crazy. And it was just scope creep. It kept coming. So I changed all those things, and eventually I started building systems. I started hiring a team, and now I can say that we're at a stage where it's kind of like running by itself. I'm still there. Of course, I'm still there. But I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm ready to hand it off to someone while I take a step back and focus on potentially another chapter in my life, you know?
Oh wow. Maybe we'll get into that in a little bit too.
Yes.
So as you were growing the business and optimizing it and streamlining it and such,
Yes.
what were some of the tactics you were using to bring in new clients?
So when COVID hit, I don't know if you remember this, but Facebook groups were huge. So my first one, I was hitting every single Facebook group that had the word coach in it. I would spend strategic time making connections, speaking to people, and kind of segmenting them to see, would they be a good lead? Can I offer them something? Can I refer them to somebody else? So I spend a lot of my time doing that and making connections. I still feel like this is a very powerful tool that you can use regardless of the platform or how it's used. If you prefer to be on LinkedIn, then go do that. If you prefer to be on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is, but spend time making connections with people and putting them in different categories so you know how to reach them. The next thing I did is I did run ads for myself. I had my first lead magnet was a Facebook ads kind of blueprint to get you set up your Facebook correctly. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, do not create blueprints that constantly need changing because the way Facebook was changing all the time, I kept having to update it. So learn from my mistakes. Choose something a little bit more evergreen if you're going to create a lead magnet because, wow, that was really annoying. It was like every time Mr. Zuckerberg decided to do something, Carol had to go and update all the screenshots. Great. It's just such a waste
Yeah.
of time. But we learn. So we did run some ads and we started growing our email list. The last strategy that we focused on was growing a Facebook group. Now, this brings me to the biggest pivot of my life. So for 1 year, I decided I'm going to grow a Facebook group. This is going to be my community. This is going to be like my feeder into everything else, right? So the strategy I used was every single channel goes to the Facebook group. Every single opportunity I get to speak about it, go live, send out an email, whatever conversations I'm having, I'm pushing people to this group. So in the space of a year, we grew the community from 0 to over 5,000 people, all organically, not running any ads to that. So that felt to me like very impressive. And then, fun fact, move forward 2 years, we had this community was great. I get hacked. Like my personal Facebook got hacked. And I lost everything. I lost my Facebook group. I lost my personal Facebook where I met my husband. I lost it all. And my clients were also like a little bit affected by it because the hackers were in the accounts, but we sorted it all out and that was great. What that moment really taught me, and if you take nothing away from this podcast, please take this, is that you cannot build on borrowed land. Building on any social media platform is a mistake because you can be hacked, the algorithm can change, the policies can change, and everything you once knew, or it can just not become popular. Everything you once knew is gone. And now, what do you have? What do you have if you really had to start over today? I know what I had. I had an email list and I had contacts of people who I could reach back out and be like, hey, this happened to me, but this is my new account. So what do you have? What do you guys think about that?
That was a good mic drop moment. So you made sure with that group, Facebook group, that you were capturing emails before they became a member?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure
the
that's
strategy
the
there was them go to the group, leave their emails. We had in the featured section, we had like, hey, start here. So get to know me so that they knew who I was and why they should listen to me. Then we had like fun little tasks for them to do. We had, again, a couple of lead magnets there so that if they didn't grab the first one, we could put them in other different segments. And based on the lead magnet that they grabbed, we kind of knew where they were going to fall. If they wanted more like to be in a coaching container for me to teach them how to do ads, or if they wanted actually my support in running the ads. Later on, I just shifted into more of running ads for people because I found that that was more profitable and it was easier to scale. Because at the end of the day, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So I can teach you ads, but if you don't do the work, girl, can't help you.
Hey, Blueprint fam, if you're enjoying today's episode and finding my guest insights valuable, then you'll definitely want to subscribe to the Personal Brand Blueprint podcast as we drop weekly guest interview episodes just like this one. And on that note, you obviously also see firsthand how powerful being an effective guest, like the one you're watching on this episode right now, can be at attracting qualified, interested leads directly into your sales funnel. But I know what you're thinking. You want to get into guest podcasting, but starting feels confusing and overwhelming. What equipment do you need? And how do you look and sound great? And how do you turn listeners into leads? I know this because so many of my guests had these exact problems in the past. And that is why I created the Podcast Guest Mastery Blueprint. It's a simple but powerful breakdown on everything you need to look, sound, and convert great as a podcast guest. Everything from how to set up your recording area to what equipment you need to look and sound great on camera, and what to say on podcasts to stand out, be memorable, and earn the audience's trust. And then that one key strategy to turn listeners into leads. I'm telling you, this isn't just another checklist. This is a step-by-step blueprint to make sure you look, sound, and present your best on podcasts so you can convert that attention into leads and ultimately new business. I honestly was thinking about selling this for like $97, but I'd rather give access to this guide to my Personal Brand Blueprint podcast audience for free. So if you are ready to become a sought-after podcast guest and use it to generate leads and build your personal brand, and grab your copy of Podcast Guest Mastery Blueprint at davepoly.com/podguest blueprint. You can find the link to that in the show notes below. Again, that's davepoly.com/podguest blueprint, and start turning podcast interviews into business. Again, it's completely free for being a loyal listener, so definitely check it out. Cool? All right, let's get back to the conversation. So you had the Facebook group, which sounded like that was a large driver of business, I assume,
Yes.
was like, 5K members is awesome. And then you were capturing your emails. So I assume then, would you have a newsletter as well?
Yes. So for the email segment, so we had weekly newsletters. So here's how it went. We would capture their email and they would go into the lead magnet sequence. The lead magnet sequence for us looks like 4 days, the first 4 days. In those first 4 emails, the first email is always hey, here's the lead magnet email. The second email, I always call it like positioning yourself email, like, hey, I'm Carol. This is why you should listen to me. This is my story. This is what's inside of it. Third email is bonus. Oh, you thought I was finished? Here's some more free stuff because I love giving you free stuff, right? And people are like, yay, I wasn't expecting that. So that comes from my hospitality days of surprise and delight. Always be surprising and delighting people. And lastly, we invite them into this is our soft sale, right? To say, hey, if you found this interesting, come and start a conversation with us, right? Back then it was join the Facebook group so that, because on a daily basis, we were like reaching out to people to start those individual conversations. But now what we do is we say, hey, you can reach out to us and book like a clarity call or something to see if you're a good fit. So we go straight into the call. We find that that's more effective now. Straight after that, we would put them into a weekly newsletter sequence. So every 7 days, we send out a weekly newsletter. And after we send about 4 of them, we put them in a flash sale. So the flash sale was to make sure that we were always selling, regardless of where they were. So it could have been a little course, a little ebook, a little something, but that happened every 4 weeks. So at the end of every month, there would always be some kind of sale, some kind of incentive of something for them to buy. And then again, it would go back to weekly emails, newsletters. If we did decide to have a launch that month, we would swap out the sales sequence for more of like, hey, we're launching this new program or we're launching this new service. Come and join our waitlist. And again, we would have a waitlist first. One, to gauge interest, because nobody wants to do something when nobody wants to do. No one's going to show up. One, to
Yeah.
gauge interest. And 2, just to, create that curiosity of like, hey, it's coming, building that. And then actually doing the launch and showing up every day and doing the quiz or the challenge or whatever it was with them every single day.
Wow. All right. So you got a pretty streamlined there funnel, we'll call it,
Yes,
of so were you trying to push people mainly into the group and then that naturally kind of led them through that entire email sequence
correct.
and funnel?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And what were the ways that you were finding you're bringing people into the group? How are you promoting that?
So we leveraged other people's groups. So when they allowed promotion or cross promotion, we would definitely be like, "Hey, we have this thing. If you want to come grab it in our group." And like that's kind of how we did it. We were just like, "Hey, I have this thing. If you want to comment below," and we'd do like that ladder, like me, and then we'd be like, "Great, it's in my group. Great, here's the group." And that's kind of that's the main thing that we did. We also did podcasts, and we did lives or shared conversations, sharing channels with people. But the biggest thing was our focus for that year, regardless of where it was, the call to action was always the same. Come join us in the group. Come join us
Mm,
because that's where it started. That was
yeah.
kind of like the lead magnet.
Yeah, I was going to say that pretty much was the lead magnet in a way.
Yes.
And what do you think between the efforts? Because I mean, a big part of my strategy is guest podcasting because you tap into other people's audiences. And then at the end of
Mhm.
that episode, having a lead magnet that you would entice people to come into your web in your funnel. So,
Mhm.
what in using that approach, but within a membership or a group strategy, what were some of
Yeah.
the best tactics that you found were driving the most success into the group? Was it the commenting on in other people's groups, guest podcasting, or lives, as you mentioned?
I would say the most effective was the groups, especially for organic, because you were just leveraging other people's like audiences, and a lot of people wanted to come back there. What I find lately that works really well is doing things like podcasts, because then you can like, leverage somebody else's channel. I think this is way easier. And you're just like, you're here, you're showing up, you're giving value, you're showing that you are the industry expert that you say you are. And from there, it's easy enough to share that clip on multiple different channels. So, the call to action can be used multiple times instead of you having to post on like 100 groups and making sure that you followed the guidelines, that you did no, this is way easier. This is what I
Yeah.
encourage most people to do. If they want to do it organically, I say go do podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and I think I'm gonna make a post about this concept, but there's so many books that I've read or listened to
Mm,
that I couldn't even tell you the author's name or what they look like. I could not pick them out of a lineup. And it's
yeah.
because I'm reading the book, the words, but like I don't constantly look at their name and I don't like them, they have their picture on the back cover or something, but I'm
Hmm.
not looking at the back cover. But with social media and with video content, I'm seeing your face, I'm hearing your voice, I'm understanding your vibe, I'm seeing the name at the bottom of the post all the time. So I just remember you more. So
Yeah.
that just it just absorbs more into the memory. So yeah, just another advocate for for video content and guest podcasting. Um, so okay, we have the group, we have newsletters, you have digital products you're pushing people to.
Mhm.
We're talking about ecosystem. What else was part of your ecosystem at that time?
So I would say of that ecosystem, the next one I would say is like making sure that you have a tried and tested offer. Because it's all good that you have all these people coming to you, but if you don't have something good to sell them, solution based oriented, I would say a good tried and tested offer is making sure that you've sold this thing 5 times through your chosen funnel. Not 5 times. Once I sold it on a call, the other time I sold it on a webinar, the other, no. If you want to do it, you got to sell 5 from the webinar. You got to sell 5 from the group. You got to sell 5 from the landing page because that validates that funnel, right? And with that information, it then helps you to identify where the holes are in that funnel if you cannot get people to do that. You also want to make sure that people are leaving you great testimonials so that you can use as social proof, so that once you have that social proof, it makes it easier to be like, okay, cool, let's go. Um, so that was kind of the next little piece in our ecosystem that we focused on, making sure that when we had our offers, they were airtight, and then building effective. So we've got the offer, we've got the ad, building effective landing pages which convert. Most times, oh my gosh, listen, people buy from ugly landing pages all the time. I'm not a fan, but people do. What I want you to take away is that they need to be solution orientated, right? Because especially if you're selling something small, it's like a very impulsive buy. You want to, I can advocate for this. Remember, I had the debt, right? So I can tell you it works. You want people to be in a mindset of like, oh, I didn't think I have that problem, but now I have it. Let me go and buy it, right? But if you're selling a service, which is what we're doing, which is running ads for people, you want to show them, hey, you're doing all this work and nobody's seen your stuff. So let me help you amplify your message and find your people in your community, solution orientated. And then if you put that type of messaging language in your landing pages, they tend to convert better. Like you said, if you have video, people get to feel your vibe, they get to know who you are, those convert better. And lastly, you are going to do it yourself and you're not going to hire someone, please make sure you build for mobile, because there's nothing worse than getting onto a landing page or a website and the whole thing is like, you're like, what am I looking at? What is
You're
this?
pinching in to like see certain things. Yeah.
You're like, and then some of it is like really big, and then the others is like, I'm like, what is this? There's nothing
Mhm.
that irritates me more, and I'm like, leave. I'm like, next, right?
Lost a
So please
sale.
make sure you optimize for mobile. Most people are on their phone all the time, most of the time. So this is really what you should be building for, mobile first.
So on the landing page, walk us
Mm.
through kind of like what's the blueprint here. So we had traffic coming from potentially a group, could be when you're guest podcasting and they get driven to that page. Um, are they going to a landing page directly on the offer, or are you doing like a lead magnet that then takes them to like a core offer? What is there kind of an upsell funnel that we
So
should be thinking about?
I would say it depends on what you're doing. So if you, the type of ads I would like to run for people, I generally do have an upsell because you want your ads to be paying for themselves. Like, look, it is an investment, but I think it's an investment worth taking to run ads because you're not depending on this algorithm that you have no control over. You're not just hoping that people will see it, right? By running ads, you're sort of betting on yourself. You're investing in yourself and you're saying, hey, this is going to work. So with the type of, if you're doing like just to grow your email list, I would say the first page is really 2 types of landing pages that you can have. The first one is short form, right? Depending on what it is, some short form pages will do well. And short form is very simple. It's usually like a graphic and then a little form. That's it. You don't need much. That works really well. It converts really well. Sometimes long form landing pages tend to convert better. With those, I like to put right at the top, I like to have like a really nice graphic, and I like to have a little banner, a little pop up. So you click on it and then the little thing comes up. The pop up comes up where you can fill in your form. And then it walks, the next section would be something like why this is for you, after that, it would be like, who am I? Why listen to me? My accolades, FAQs, and then go back to the top. And in all those sections, do not be scared of buttons, okay? I find the people on like have one button on the page. Why do you have one button? Like, think about your experience when you're scrolling. You're scrolling, and maybe I want to take action. Put a button everywhere where you're like, could probably click here. Put another one. You can never have too many buttons. I love buttons. Put a lot of them. That's my thing. So that's the kind of page I would do. And then I would do a little upsell. With the upsell, you want it to be like a self-liquidating offer. You want it to be something small, something tangible, and something that complements what you're selling. So if your lead magnet was, hey, here's how to set up your Meta Business Manager account, then the next thing would be like, hey, here's a ad template. So it complements it. Or hey, here is ad copy that I've used with my clients and it's gotten them this result. You want something that mimics, right? It feels intuitive. It feels like it's connected. With that, again, I would keep it super simple and I would put the checkout form. This is what I have personally found works really well. I would put like where they can put their credit card details on the same page. Don't go to another location. You know, when we see people getting kidnapped, it's like, oh, we went to the second location. Exactly. No one wants to go to the second location. Don't take them there. They're there. Take their money. And if you have one of those platforms that you can literally just press and it like goes through, use that one. Make it so simple for them to give you things. When you create obstacles, they get scared. People get scared because they're like, why are you taking me there? Why do I have to fill in this form again? I thought you just grabbed my details. When you create doubt, it lowers your conversion. And no one wants that. So that would be my next thing. Last thing, which is very underlooked, is the thank you page. Oh my word. I don't know why people like just dismiss the thank you page. The thank you page is so vital. It's where you tell people what to do next, right? It's where you tell them, hey guys, this is where I need you to go. In my old strategy, it would have been like, come to the group. My new strategy is like, if you don't want to wait and you know you need help right now, book a call with me. It may seem a little harsh, right? It may seem like you're like, buy my stuff, but you're not buying your stuff. It's coming from a place of service. Some people are ready now. They don't need to be sugarcoated. And that's what you need to have on your thank you page, the next step in the journey. And again, some people I just see they have thank you and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Can you walk us through an example of someone who's coming to you fresh, doesn't have any of this in place? You know,
Mhm.
a case study of a client that didn't have anything in place, and how you approached that situation. What were the steps you kind of and channels you instilled, and kind of what the outcome of that was?
I can tell you right now, they wouldn't have been my client. I would have told them no. I can tell you that right now. And the reason I would have told them no is because, unfortunately, I'm not the person to help you build, right? I'm the person you come to once you have a tried and tested offer, once you have a funnel that is sort of tested, and you just need help amplifying it. You need help seeing, okay, this we're converting at 20%. How do we get it to 40? Here we have these emails. How do we get more? Maybe we're not using Messenger. Maybe we're not using other avenues. How can we diversify the funnel? Nothing wrong with people who are starting anew, but there's so many variables. And when you are running ads, you really have to test so many things. And unfortunately, you're testing with money. So I cannot do my job in good faith if I don't know if I will sell. And then I tell you, hey, Dave, give me $1,000. Come, let's figure it out. Maybe it's going to work. That's like crazy. I know
Hmm.
people do that, but I can't do that. It's not who I am.
What's the first place that, yeah, so let's say it's that scenario then. They
Yeah.
already have a proven offer, they have the funnel generally set up. Where are the typical bottlenecks we'll see, or the mistakes that are being made that you're like, all right, I can already tell the car's making this funky noise. I can already tell what needs to be fixed here.
Usually it's big things. One, it's messaging. So they're either too direct or it's too fluffy. For example, I have this client who today we actually had a call. This is actually very funny that I'm thinking about it now. Today we had a call and I was like, talk me through your clarity calls because you've been booking a couple of them, but I don't see conversions. Why? So she's explaining to me how she's conducting the calls and she's like, oh no, we talk, we have some questions. And then after that, I let them go. And then I continue the conversation via text. And I was like, why don't you sell on the call? She's like, no, I thought I just needed to talk to them. And I'm like, okay, you could do that, right? Where you can continue the call and eventually they'll turn into a client, but you could just speak to them. You could just be direct. And in all her messaging, we actually had to do a whole messaging revamp. It wasn't direct enough. It wasn't to the point. It was like, if you want, maybe. So I think getting very clear on your messaging, selling, but selling from a place that feels authentic to you, right? Because no one wants to be salesy and no one wants to be pushy. It has to feel like it comes from a place of service. So messaging is a big one that I see problems with. The second one that I see is when people invest in ads, they want to run sales ads as their first ad campaign. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. The reason you don't want to do that is imagine we were at a bar, right? Dave and I were at the bar. We're chilling. It's cool. Life is great. Dave sees me. I see him. We have this moment. Dave comes over and he's like, yo, Cal, I want to marry you. And I'm like, boy, bye. And the reason I'm like, boy, bye is because I don't know Dave. I don't know if he's a serial killer. I don't know if he's a nice guy. I don't know if he's a millionaire or not. All I know is that he asked me to marry him and I don't know him. This is the same thing that happens when you go straight into a sales campaign, right? You don't know. And if you do know, you're going to spend lots of money to get the sale because you have to do a lot of testing. The better strategy would be to run kind of awareness or engagement ads to build an audience that you can then retarget. And those people who already kind of know you and maybe they're in different lanes, you've segmented them, you can be like, okay, this person's not quite ready, but they're getting ready. Let's show them more information. This person is ready. Let's show them book a call. And that's how you move them along. But going straight into the sales ad, that's a huge mistake. And I see it all the time. Also pressing the boost button. Don't press the boost button. Don't do that.
I love that concept too because it also largely ties back to personal branding with your content that you put out. Like that's paid brand awareness, but then there's also the organic approach with just creating content, being top of feed, top of mind, and then you move it to a conversation in the DMs, and then at that point they've consumed some of your content, binge some of your YouTube videos, and the sale is much easier versus we all hate getting the LinkedIn request and then they're immediately like, hey, do you want this thing? And you're like, I don't know who you are. I go to your LinkedIn profile and there's absolutely no information about you. You don't post any content. You're just using LinkedIn. It's just this like cold outbound approach. So yeah, warm people up, get them to know you a little bit better. So I love that. This is great. What for people who are interested in learning more about you and your business, where should they go?
So everywhere on socials, my name is just Carol Kabaale, and I'm sure you will see it in the show notes. But Dave will have a link to my Facebook ads quiz, and in that quiz, it's really cool. It's only 2 minutes, and if you found this conversation enticing and you're like, maybe I should be running ads, maybe I shouldn't be depending on the algorithm, then I implore you to please go take the quiz. It's literally 2 minutes, and it will tell you where and if you should be running ads.
I want to take this moment to highlight what you just did for our audience. If you're guest podcasting on someone's show, make sure you have that call to action that includes something that goes off to a lead magnet like Carol just did. All of you now need to go check out this lead magnet. First and foremost, because you need it. And secondly, because you need to see how this is supposed to be done. So applause around to Carol for that as well. Any last words that you want to put a big exclamation on that our audience should walk away with for this episode?
So my life motto for 2025 is something I learned last year, and I've been telling everybody and shouting it, and it's what you don't change, you choose. So I want you to grab that, and whatever feels like, I want you to sit with it and change it. Because if you're not changing it, you're choosing it.
That's good. Love that. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carol, for walking us through the marketing ecosystem that we should all have in place, and really walking us through that funnel that you had in place, that from member groups to lead magnets to emails to upsells and all that. That was super helpful. Um, yeah. So if you want to learn more about Carol, definitely check out the show notes, and all the links to her socials and to that lead magnet will be under there. Thank you so much for being on today's show. And if you want to learn more about how to grow your personal brand, check out the Personal Brand Blueprint podcast. Check out davepolycop.com on how we can work together one-on-one, and obviously follow the Personal Brand Blueprint podcast. Thanks, and see you on the next episode of the Personal Brand Blueprint. Today, we learned about my guest's origin story, unique methods, and credibility. If you want to see me break down how today's guest can use those tools within the Personal Brand Blueprint strategy to attract, convince, and convert new qualified leads so you can do the same for your business, then check out this episode here. Or if you want to continue to hear more incredible personal branding origin stories and learn more valuable personal branding skills from my awesome guests, then check out the full playlist of interviews here.